Hello, world. Welcome on into Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. This is Lauren. That is Zino. Mark, what is up? We have week 10. A lot of crazy stuff happened yesterday. Some incredible catches, some wild upsets. How are you digesting all of that on a Monday morning?
Well, Lauren, I can tell you after some of the bad beats that or frustrating losses that I suffered yesterday, there is no better salve in the wound than to work with Lauren Jabara. Parts unknown where she travels all over the country. It is the perfect start
Oh,
to a Monday morning here on Let's Bet It. We won't talk about the Bears. We won't talk about Kyle Shanahan last night. So we're going to leave those two things in the rearview mirror and just look forward to a wonderful day today.
yeah, it's crazy. We're going to break it all down. We obviously have our biggest winners and losers so far from week 10, but there's still one more game to be played tonight. Commanders taking on the Eagles. We're going to break that down in a little bit too. Have our friend Bobby Stanley come on, prop Holliday, give us all of his prop is for our Monday Night Football to put a bow on week 10. And then we have college football early birds. Lots to break down from college football this weekend. Most of the favorites won, but a lot of big injuries that are definitely notable heading into week 12 and week 13 as we get into the rivalry matchups. So we'll break that all down for you. Without further ado, my friend, let's get into it and let's bet it because it is Overreaction Monday. Let's start it out with our biggest winners and biggest losers. I'll start with you with the winner. I have one guy that is my winner. You have an entire team that is your winner.
Yeah, your winner's probably better than mine. But look, the San Francisco 49ers went out on Sunday Night Football last night and won a game they pretty much had to win, knowing that when they kicked their game off, the Seattle Seahawks had lost, and a win would bring them within just a half a game of Seattle. And San Francisco had already beaten Seattle earlier in the year. So they hold a sort
Yeah.
of tiebreak edge. Those two teams will meet one more time. But, San Francisco now getting healthier. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey in the offense, another week, they continue to be as dynamic as possible. They didn't play exactly a great game last night. A little bit sloppy, made some turnovers, but still, they go out and they beat a very good and talented team in Los Angeles. So they put themselves back in position here to take over the NFC West, and I think that's exactly what they'll do before season's end.
Yeah, there was a lot of really exciting games last night or yesterday in general. One of them being the Vikings, who took on the Buffalo Bills, which brings me to my winner. And my winner and my overreaction are both from the same game. So different guys, same game. Justin Jefferson, absolutely dominant this week. The best catch of his life, 4th and 18, and he keeps the
Best catch
Vikings'
of our
hopes
lives.
alive. One of the best catches probably in NFL history.
Ever.
One of the best catch that I've actually ever witnessed in my entire life against the best defense in the league. He had 193 yards on 10 receptions, that 46-yard long that 46-yard long pass that he kept him in it, and then one touchdown. He was absolutely phenomenal yesterday against the Buffalo Bills. So he is my biggest winner of week 10. Buffalo trending maybe not in the right direction right now, but I do think that's a little bit of an overreaction, which we'll get into in a second. But before we do, let's talk about some of our biggest losers from week 10, because there was quite a few teams and individual people who could maybe take that big old L from week 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think one of the biggest losers was the Cowboys blowing a 14-point lead on the road to the Green Bay Packers, had them on the ropes. In fact, the Cowboys had a 14-point lead with about halfway through the third quarter and couldn't score a single point the rest of the way. And they end up losing a game they probably should have won. Now, Green Bay Packers obviously, got some life breathed back into them with a big win, although Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur probably are not spending Thanksgiving dinner together now or anytime soon, for that matter. If you saw the mouth of Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines, that said, got to tip your cap to Green Bay, but the Cowboys let one slip, and my Giants, baby, now in second place in the NFC East. Gotta love it.
Which you love to see. My biggest loser, I'm heading all the way to Las Vegas for it. And it's Josh McDaniels. The Raiders, man, they are in a dark place right now. Their offense hasn't scored more than 20 points in a game since October 23rd. They came off a bye this week, and nothing changed. And this is the guy that's known to be an offensive genius. going up against a Colts team who's being led by Jeff Saturday, who, by the way, took advantage on a Sunday. I mean, he owned the entire weekend for that matter. We haven't seen any of that offensive prowess, though, with the Raiders this season. And you look at Derek Carr, he's crying in the post-game press conference. He's frustrated. He's pissed off. And they lost to the Colts with a brand new head coach that's never coached in the NFL. That is an all-time low for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know they went through a dark season last year. This year, I know it's more on the football field. But what Derek Carr said after the game is he said what some of these guys will do to get on the field every single day, what some of these guys will do to sleep at night. He goes, it pisses me off. That shows me that it's a divided locker room that they have in Las Vegas right now. And that's a bigger issue. This is when a guy like Josh McDaniels needs to come in, help bring everybody together and figure their shit out, because right now what they're doing, it ain't working. The juice ain't being squeezed at this point. So they need to figure it out, or it's going to be a really, really tumultuous next 8 weeks for them to finish out the season. I mean, we're only 1 week over halfway. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's crazy because I think I saw this last night that the Vikings are 7-0 in one-score games, and the Raiders are 0-6. And the real difference between being 0-6 in one-score games and 7-0 is coaching. It's supposed to bridge that gap. It's supposed to be about situational football. It's supposed to be about making your team successful in the most critical moments and finding ways to get a first down that's needed, or put yourself in position for a field goal, or let Justin Jefferson go and make a play that he's supposed to make. I mean, that's what coaching is supposed to be about. And clearly Josh McDaniels hasn't gotten it done. It's likely going to cost him his job, Lauren. I have a hard time believing with all that talent that he's going to survive this year. Unless the players come out with a huge sort of, vote of confidence for him, I have a hard time believing that they're actually going to retain him.
Yeah, it's going to be either the coach or the quarterback, Josh McDaniel or Derek Carr. One of them is going to go, and the season's going to fall on one of them. It just depends on who it's going to be. I know Josh McDaniel had a closed-door meeting a couple weeks ago with their GM. Don't know what came out of that because nothing really has changed. But I will say with NFL, you need buy-in from everybody in that locker room to be able to win games. And if they're only getting that buy-in from some of these guys, and if more are trickling off week after week after week after they keep losing and losing and losing, it's not a good situation that's going on right now in Las Vegas. Overreactions from week 10. Who you got for yours?
Well, for me, it's I think the Vikings, again, just because how sustainable is it to continue to win games by one score? Like, that's going to catch up with you at some point in time,
Yeah.
just because the NFL is what it is. And for the Vikings, and oh, by the way, again, holding a ticket for the Vikings to win the NFC North. So I'm not mad that they keep winning games per se, but the idea that this team is a Super Bowl contender to me feels a little bit far-fetched at this point. Again, I don't want to take anything away from him. Kevin O'Connell's done an amazing job, and these guys are dancing on planes shirtless, which, I mean, listen, hey, it's, if you got it, rock it, right? But beyond that, this was a game they probably should have lost if they won, and now we're going to start to elevate them into the stratosphere of, like, the level of the Chiefs and being better than the Bills, and I don't know necessarily that they're there yet.
Mm-hmm. No, it's their strength of schedule. They've had a pretty easy strength of schedule. They haven't won a lot of big games. If you look at some of their wins, it's against kind of bottom feeder teams at this point. So we'll see. I mean, the Vikings are obviously going to win the NFC North at this point, but I don't know how far they're going to go actually in the NFC and if they're going to make it be a real Super Bowl contender. Even though they have a really good record this season and they are playing really well, they're playing like a team at this point. Okay, let's talk about my overreaction. And it was similar last week, and I know you had the same overreaction last week. And this week, I'm pointing it more at one guy, and it's Josh Allen. Allen is one of the most talented and physically gifted quarterbacks in the National Football League. I know the last few weeks, he's been a little careless with the football, poor decision-making in big-time scenarios. He threw 2 red zone picks last weekend against the Jets, 2 more this week against the Vikings. You look at his QBR, weeks 1 through 6. His QBR was 109.1, 67% completion rate, 7 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Week 8 through 10, 67.2 QBR, 59% completion rate, 3 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. This does not mean that he is a bad quarterback by any means. Everyone's like, oh, he's lost it. He's not going to be able to get it done. Dude is playing with an injured UCL, which is extremely difficult to do. Who even knows if he should have been playing this week or if he's like, hey, shoot me up with some Toradol and let's go. This comes down to Josh Allen, though, making smarter decisions with the football, knowing that he is not 100% healthy. I think it's a big mental adjustment for him to want to be able to do that. But I think moving forward, the next 8 weeks of the season, he's going to be able to do that. One, his UCL is probably going to get healthier. I don't really know much about the UCL, so I can't talk too much about it. I don't know if still playing on it is making it worse. I don't know if playing on it will hinder it to recover. But at the same time, a lot of that is his mental decisions. He needs to not make some of those passes that he was making, but I think that can be shored up very quickly. And I think it's an overreaction to say that, he's not playing very well right now, which he isn't necessarily, but I think it's because of things that he's hindered by. So I think he'll be able to bounce back. Everyone's been saying that about the Packers all season, and finally, after 6 weeks, we saw it this week. Everyone was saying it about the Bucs all season, and after like 4 weeks, we've seen it the last couple of weeks. So why can't we say the same thing about Josh Allen at this point? And I stand my case. We have one more game though to wrap up Week 10 of NFL season. Let's bring in Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday, for some Monday Night Football props. Tonight we have the Commanders taking on the Eagles. Eagles perfect halfway through the season. Another win for them against the Texans last week. The Commanders had a narrow loss to 7-1 Vikings last week, who are now 8-1 on the season. And these teams played back in Week 3. Eagles won 24-8. Bobby Stanley, happy Monday. How you doing? You're muted. Oh, there we go. I hear you now.
I'm good?
Yeah, you're good now.
Bueno.
You're good.
We are bueno.
Good.
No, everything is going well, guys. It's a little bit cold over here in Jersey, so I got the hooded sweatshirt on. But it is a good Monday with some football to look forward to later on.
You'll love it.
The old school Devils hat he's rocking,
I
Lauren. Look at
know.
that old school New Jersey Devils hat.
I'm all about it.
It's the
red.
I'm all about it.
It's the only
I know,
team
you
I
wanna
can
wear
I can
that.
hang my hat on lately.
Yeah,
Well,
you couldn't wear your Rams. Oh my
You
gosh.
know, it's over. I'm glad you didn't put that in overreaction, underreaction, winners, losers. It's just understood they're losers. But
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of losers in the league this year. Parity is real. Let's talk about it. Eagles, though, perfect halfway through the season. Give me one of your props for tonight.
I'm going to start with Curtis Samuel, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. His line for receiving yards is 40.5 tonight, which is pretty attractive. The rookie from Penn State, Jahan Dotson, returns after being gone, I think, since week 6. During that time with Dotson and Samuel in the lineup, Samuel averaged 54 yards per game, sliding into that slot role. So Josiah Scott, cornerback for the Eagles, stepping in for Avonte Maddox. Scott's giving up an average passer rating of 127 when targeted, so he's not very good as a nickel. And Samuel hit this in 3 straight games. If we do get a negative game script and Philly really blows it out, makes this line a little bit more attractive, the Commanders go pass happy. And there's no J.D. McKissick tonight, who was really more that short yardage back, short yardage wide receiver. He was getting 2 to 3 targets per game. I think those targets end up going to Curtis Samuel tonight. So over 40.5 receiving yards, I like for the Commanders wide receiver.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see the return of Brian Robinson and how he's going to continue to develop after, getting shot, which, it's not easy to recover from. Not that I have any personal knowledge or anything, but regardless, how do you handicap Brian Robinson's return into the lineup?
How do I handicap this? I'm gonna take a stab and see if Robinson can replicate what Dameon Pierce did last week against Philly between the tackles. So Jordan Davis, D tackle, big guy out of Georgia, he's on IR, and the middle of that Eagles defense has really been susceptible these last few weeks. They've been giving up 5.4 yards per carry. They've been giving up over 9 rushing first downs over the last 3 weeks. So if there is a path to success for this Commanders team, it's going to be on the ground. It's going to be controlling the clock. And that's why I like Robinson over 33.5 rushing yards. It's attractive enough that it's a low line. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you keep going. Sorry.
When he gets 10 plus carries, he hits this line in every single game. That has to be the angle that the Commanders are going for. Keep Philly's offense off the field, run the ball, control the clock. And if he can hit that 5.4 yard per carry mark, he should blow this out of the water. And then it comes down to Eagles and tackling. It's really been their Achilles heel all season. They're 31st overall ranked in tackling according to PFF. So I am going a little bit Commanders heavy, but these lines are baked in with a blowout. If you don't buy that it's going to be a blowout, I think it's going to be a little bit closer scoring game. I think Robinson goes over 33.5 rushing.
Absolutely. I actually think it's going to be a lot closer scoring game, and that may or may not be my best bet of the day. Something else I will say is the Eagles are good in every single category, except they cannot stop the run. They rank 29th in opponent yards per carry. You look at the Texans last week, they gained 5.3 yards per carry in week 9. Washington, I know with Taylor Heineke under center, they've been running the ball about 50% of their plays. So I really, really like that. And I actually think I'm going to tail you on that. If you had to choose a winner, obviously, you think the Eagles are going to win. Do you think the Commanders can cover the spread tonight?
I do think the Commanders can cover. Taylor Heineke, you're looking at the guy who's 2-1 as a starter. He's pretty much playing for his career. Wentz is coming back or expected to come back in week 11. If he can pull off an upset tonight, I think that gets him the starting nod the rest of the season, and maybe they start fighting for a wild card spot. But 10.5 just seems a little bit too much. I know it is on the road. I know it's at a divisional opponent. This game should be closer than the 24-8 that we saw in week 4. I like the points. Over-unders at 43.5. I think I saw something on TikTok. I don't know if you guys saw this. If a spread is 9 points or more, the under hits 60% of the time, something like that. And the premise is if the favorite wins, they're going to blow them out. It's not going to go over. The underdog's not going to score. If the underdog can play defense and make it competitive, you're still not hitting that over mark. So 43.5, the under seems a little bit interesting if TikTok holds true.
I like it. I really do.
Zeno's
a big TikTok guy now too.
Listen, I'm getting better. I'm down to like under 30 minutes to make a video right now. So, I'm getting better. It was usually in the 45 to an hour range, but I started
I gave up entirely. I have my wife do it. I have my wife help me do any TikTok I do, but I'm failing miserably on TikTok.
I don't know how these kids do this thing so quick. I'm like literally like trying to find buttons and slide things and move things. It's like a freaking Rubik's Cube, which I could never solve either as a kid.
Fun fact for you. Yeah, I had to help Zeno out. Bobby Stanley. He FaceTimed me and he had to share his screen, and I had to walk him through how to make a TikTok.
Lauren, why are you blowing up my spot like that? Lauren, we're supposed to be friends. You're supposed to be lifting me up, not putting me down.
I'm sorry.
That's what we do at Pickswise.
He goes, I've been at it for 2 hours and I can't figure it out.
God, I was so frustrated. I didn't know who else to call. I don't have any other teeny bopper kids around me that do TikTok all the time, but I know Lauren's good at it. Well, I'm just saying, teenagers are on it. And I know Lauren does TikTok all the time, so she's like a social media wizard, and I'm just like a moron. And so
I got you guys. Whenever you need some TikTok help, feel free to give me a phone call. Bobby Stanley, we so appreciate you. Thank you for putting a bow on week 10 for us, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Good luck, guys.
Peace out. All right, for men, let's take it to the boys. Mark Zeno, because we kind of had a mundane week 11 in college football. I feel like all the favorites won, except Washington. They spoiled Oregon's party, last-minute field goal. Bo Nix left for a little bit in that fourth quarter with a leg injury. Something to keep in mind as they go up against Utah next week. But Oregon not going to make the college football playoff this year.
Not no mo. They're train. The Oregon train just crashed, and it ain't going anywhere anymore. It's unfortunately for me and staking my reputation on Oregon, much like my reputation, it is now in the crapper.
Yeah, not a lot of upsets this week, but there were a lot of upset players after their top running backs went down. USC and Ohio State looked really good against inferior opponents, but both lost massive players. For USC, Travis Dye, probably missing the rest of the season with a gruesome leg injury. Did not want to watch that again. Entered Friday with the second most rushing yards in the Pac-12. That's a big hit for USC, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, their offense still sort of runs through Caleb Williams. It was very much a nice, he was a great complimentary piece. And I don't want to downgrade him like that because he was really, a guy that was a big part of what they did. But, again, their offense still all is about Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Ohio State, another one, Mayan Williams, carted off after having 147 yards on 15 carries. They're already missing Travion Henderson right now. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Obviously, I don't know who they're playing next week, but I know they have Michigan the week after that in week 13. They're going to want both of those guys to be feeling okay. Do you think that they'll be back?
Who knows? It's hard to figure out if they can be. I think in general, at this point, there's very little wiggle room. You have 2 games left in the regular season. The only real chance for anybody to lose a game at this point in time um, is the final week of the season, because usually this is
Yeah,
this week coming up off week for a lot of these teams. You get rivalry week, the last week of the season. Then it's really, if you're not in the conference championship game, you don't have a shot. So
yeah.
it will be seen at this point.
Yeah, and Chase Brown from Illinois, the nation's leading rusher heading into this weekend, now has a right leg injury. He limped off the field. Don't know how serious that is. Well, something to keep an eye on. Also, I just want to give a special shout out to UConn. I worked one of their games earlier this season. Jim Mora, their head coach, they've only won
Yeah.
4 games in the last 3 seasons. They are bowl eligible for the first time since 2015. They upset Liberty, who is ranked 19 in the AP poll. Good for them. Good for Jim Mora. Good for the UConn Huskies, because
I
I
mean,
got to cover a game from them this season, and
who
they're such
doesn't
good
love
people over there.
who doesn't love basketball schools going bowling, right?
Love it.
Because that's when
Love
it
it.
matters. Kansas,
Yeah.
UConn, Duke. I mean, all those basketball schools go bowling. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, good for UConn. I love it. And Jim Mora came in there to turn that program around, and he did that this season. So week 12 slates, I know, as we look ahead, any games that stand out, or is it kind of like a look ahead week for you?
Well, the 5 games I'll get on the Pickswise website will be USC, UCLA, Utah, Oregon, TCU and Baylor, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Georgia, Kentucky. So those are the ones that I kind of have circled. However, Liberty is laying 8 points at home against Virginia Tech. Clemson is laying a big number this weekend as well. And here's the thing with Clemson. They need style points at this point in time. They have to go start blowing people out if they even want to be in this discussion outside of getting help from other teams. So I might not be so scared to lay the points, because I think they'll keep their foot on the pedal for 4 quarters.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We'll be talking about those games all throughout the week with our college football lead analyst and Mark Zinno. But before we get to our best bets of the day, let's talk about Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, we're rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook is going to give you a $50 bonus on every safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread, any total, and if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you, my friends, get a $50 bonus. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. From superbook.com to pickswise.com. MZ, who do we got today?
Well, there is a
Whale.
plethora, if you will, a plethora of picks up there. Actually, there's not.
Love that.
There's a college football pick and a tennis pick, but neither of them are for any of tonight's games. So rather light schedule in the NBA tonight, right? Not a whole bunch of games going on. So
Not a whole bunch of games. Yeah. I'm working
yeah,
one of them.
continue.
We're in Milwaukee right now, which will be a fun game to watch.
I know. There are NFL predictions up there. They're not best bets, but we have a full write-up on the Commanders-Eagles game coming up tonight on Monday Night Football, so check that out as well.
Make sure to check it out. Zena, we both have the same play of the day. And can I start it out and then you finish?
Beauty and age or old guy?
Beauty before age. I got you. Yeah, I was talking a little bit about it during Bobby Stanley's segment. I said the Eagles have been dominant in every single facet of the game, except they cannot stop the run. They ranked 29th in opponent yards per carry. And the Texans last week gained 5.3 yards per carry. Washington has leaned more on their run game with Taylor Heineke under center. They're running almost 50% of their plays, and it feels like they might be able to keep this one close. Like 11 is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. And the defensive numbers are decent, 15th in opponent yards per play, 7th in red zone defense. So I feel like they might have a chance of, not necessarily shutting down the Eagles offense, but at least limiting them a little bit. But I think that they can also take advantage of the one weak spot that the Philadelphia Eagles have, which is their run defense. And who knows? We'll see. I think they could keep this game close. What do you feel?
Well, a couple of things. Go back to the first matchup between these two teams. That was 24-8. Looks like a blowout on paper, but really wasn't. All 24 points for the Eagles came in one quarter. So the Washington defense pitched a shutout in 3 of those quarters. Why did they get 24 points? Well, obviously it was a turnover by the Washington Commanders that gave them an extra quick possession that they turned into points, and it was a short field as well. And beyond that, you had a Washington offense that had 3 drives, Lauren, of at least 12 plays that only resulted in 7 combined points. They had 2 drives
Yeah.
of at least 13 plays that resulted in no points. And that was when Carson Wentz was leading the offense. Plus, you get Taylor Heineke in there now. Look at the Commanders' defenses and what they've done. Over the last 4 weeks, they're only giving up 16 points per game. They held this Eagles team to just 72 rushing yards on the ground. You're talking about a big number and a very short total that is really hard to get underneath. The only way this thing stays under in the Eagles cover is if they win this game like, 27-3. 27-10 in that range, because it's such a short number. I think Washington's going to be able to score. I think Taylor Heineke will some new weapons back in the fold. Brian Robinson there, Johan Dotson back. They'll have their chances to put up some points here, and the Washington defense should do enough to keep this thing close. Divisional dogs covering at a 60% clip this year. Give me all 11
Love
of the
that.
points. Yeah.
Give me the divisional dog. We're all about
We'll
the
let the
Commanders
dogs out.
today. Let's go. I mean, the Eagles, I think, are still going to win the game, but 11 points is a lot of points. Give me the points. And 11's my lucky number, Zeno, too. So why not? Just add that in there at the end. That's it for today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Mark Zeno. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the last game of Week 10. We'll see you guys for Week 11. Let's get it. Let's bet it.